All right, we're live. I'm going to give you back the host, and then if you want to make me a co-host, feel free.
Try again. Testing.
Yes.
You hear? Thank you.
A little bit. That good?
It's 7:01 p.m. Calling the meeting to order. We do have a quorum. Ms. Maureen Real is joining us from home. May I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. We're ready for the question. Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Maureen Real, turn your volume up just a little for us, please.
Okay.
Announcements, Ms. Maureen Real.
I have none at this time.
Ms. Oswald?
I have none.
Okay. Last night at the MSBA virtual training session, they announced that Ms. Maura Will would, I believe, chair something. Didn't get all of it, but explain it to us, Ms. Maura Will.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Beckwith, and I apologize for that. the Missouri School Board Association is made up of 17 regions. And those 17 regions have what is known as an executive committee that's made up of about 5 different positions, the top position being the chair of that region. And at our last Region 7 meeting, I was serving as the advocacy chair, but was very surprised and honored that all of the members of our executive committee, including our outgoing chair, has nominated me to be the new chair for Region 7, which is all of St. Louis City Schools, St. Louis County Schools, St. Charles County Schools, Franklin County Schools, and Jefferson County Schools. So I'll be our regional chair for Region 17.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And I was just informed tonight that Mr. Singleton is now Dr. Singleton. He received his doctorate, aced his dissertation today at St. Louis University.
Wonderful.
So we welcome him to the doctoral club.
All
well
right.
done, Dr. Singleton.
Thank you, Dr. Beckwith. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Patrons' comments, do we have any, Ms. Fields?
No, sir.
We will move to the superintendent's report. Dr. Spurgeon.
Thank you, Dr. Beckwith. Wanted to bring you up to date, the Special Administrative Board and all those joining us this evening, as I've done each week on our Prop E activity. So starting from 3-9, you should see that up on your screen. I've highlighted all those things we've done between 3-9 and today being 3:30. And I've highlighted some green of things just as some major pieces. The first one there is the Moline Acres City Council meeting. I think it's really important. We've been able to get to every one of the meetings with each of the mayors and their council men or women and their patrons. So I thought that's been really great. We've had some communication with the Glasgow Village trustee, which Glasgow Village has a pretty high attendance rates on their Glasgow Village meetings, and they've been extremely supportive of our school district, no matter what we've asked them to do, whether it's to come and be a part of something's going on in the community or not. But they allowed Mr. Sistrunk to be a part of that meeting. Again, we did some canvassing. Sent some signs out on 3/13. As I mentioned before, we attended Believer's Temple Sunday morning service. It was myself, Dr. Singleton, Mr. Sistrunk, and then Miss Maura Reel was able to join us towards the end of the ceremony. So thank you for that. I think that was very positive. The week before spring break, I was able to record a 30-second and a 60-second Prop E radio ad that will be played, is now being played over 104.1, 96.3, which is formerly the 95.5 radio station. We had parent-teacher conferences right before spring break where we are able to get information and share conversation, have conversations with our parents and our community. The week also right before spring break, the St. Louis American began running ads for our Proposition E. Phone bank training occurred also right before spring break. RGNEA has been gracious enough to provide us an opportunity to utilize their facilities and their phones and provide some assistance in getting volunteers to be able to make those phone calls. And I'm going to have Shelley here in just a second give us an update on that. Did canvassing on the 20th. A second billboard has been secured for our Proposition E and erected. And then our 30-second radio ads began on March the 22nd. Hope that's going to be successful. And then the phone bank began on the week of 3/22. And Shelley Hibb, I know Shelley's on the line this evening. Shelley, will you give us the SAB and I just a little update on how that's going and kind of what that looks like?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Riverview Gardens NEA membership is very, very pleased to work collaboratively with the committee for Prop E and all of the administration to run this phone bank. What that is we contact the likely voters. That's the voters that have voted in at least 2 of the last 4 municipal issues. And there's about 3,000 to 4,000 likely voters in the Riverview Gardens voting area.
Did we lose Shelley? We may have lost Shelley. All right, we'll keep moving on. If she comes back on, we may be able to pick that up a little bit later. But anyway, just very thankful that RGNEA has been able to provide that service for us and for our committee for Proposition E. Canvassing on the 27th again in the Highland Glasgow area. And beginning this week, the 60-second radio ads began yesterday. And then this week starts our final big push because our vote is 1 week from today. And so we still have a few things left to do. We're still asking for individuals on April the 3rd, next Saturday from 12 until 2. We always meet here between 11:30 and 11:45 to go out and do some canvassing at the major intersections this coming Saturday. So I'm asking for everyone who's available to give us 2 hours of your time on Saturday to get this information out and really make sure that we've done all that we could on Tuesday, because what we don't want to do is come Tuesday and something not going on and positive in our way is to say, gee, I really wish we should have. So if we can get everybody out who's available on Saturday, starting here at central office around 11:30 to 11:45, we can get that last big push out moving forward. So with that being said, Dr. Beckwith, that's just an update on Proposition E.
Any questions, Ms. Morrow?
I have no questions.
Ms. Oswald?
Are you muted?
It appears, not appears, a lot of work has been done on this, very organized, very appreciative of staff and you and Dr. Singleton and everybody else who helped with this. Great job.
Thank you.
I apologize. We lost power. So I'm on my phone. I apologize. Were there any questions
No.
about the phone bank?
No
No
questions.
questions.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Shelley.
For your help. We're now down to our item proper update. Dr. Singleton?
Hi, Dr. Beckwith. Is this the Prop R update or Prop
Yes.
E? Okay, Prop R update. Ms. Green will start us out and then I will give the finance report at the end. So Ms. Green, go ahead.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Spurgeon, colleagues, and community. I'd like to present our update of Prop R. So again, we just start out with a few of the completed projects: Highland rooftop units, band room, choir room renovation. Next slide. Parking lots at various schools, district-wide phone system. Fire alarm upgrade, phase 1. High school building 9 roof replacement. More of our completed projects are the rooftop units in phase 1, central office electrical upgrade. More completed projects were the building-wide building access upgrade, as well as the Westview emergency repairs. So right now, some of our current active projects, we're still, we're about 98% complete on the rooftop replacement units. We've had some contingency dollars left over, which gives us enough to do maybe 2 more replacement of 2 more units that were the first time around, they were fine, but now they were on the bubble. And so now they're falling off the edge. So they need to be replaced. And because we had some contingency built in, we're able to replace those 2 units without coming back to the board for more money. So right now we're in the beginning phase of the HVAC upgrades. And what that is, that's the control, so that we can control the air and heating systems via the computer. Right now we're about 10%, And we've had some people from Ameren coming in to do an assessment of what we're putting into our district. And so therefore there are some rebates that will be coming our way. Dr. Singleton, I'm not sure. I've gotten some emails from Ameren where I think they're going to be sending us checks. You may start receiving those. I'm not sure if you received any of yet, but so far I've calculated that we may be getting $10,000 back for us putting up upgrades of our controls as well as the new rooftop units. So some of the upcoming projects right now, we have posted on our website, district-wide security camera upgrades. We're putting together RFP for district-wide painting, which falls under the category of classroom and interior on our Prop R list. And we've been in talks with the people from BJC for our school-based health center. So this just shows a line graph or bar chart, whatever, a line graph of those projects that have been completed, that are still in progress, or some of the ones that we've yet to do. Shay, can you go down? So summary today, the board has approved 24 projects. We have completed 22 projects, 2 are ongoing. Our MBE participation as to date is 33%. Our WBE total to date is 7%. Are there any questions?
Ms. Oswald,
No questions.
Ms. Maria,
No questions.
Ms. Green, repeating question. What about security for those rooftop units that are in place? Have we done any further investigation on that?
I couldn't really hear you, but I think you're asking about the security for the rooftop units.
Security for the rooftop unit.
Yes, sir. I'm still getting quotes to see what we can do and how we can do that. There's really no easy solution because of it being up on the roof, birds flying, so we can't use the infrared because they'll break the beam and set off the alarm. So I'm still looking for other ways to prevent theft.
My concern is I don't want us to spend all of the Prop R money and then we find a solution and we don't have any money to do.
Understood.
Okay. No other questions. Thank you.
Dr. Beckwith, I will add the financial piece to Ms. Green's report before we close out the Prop R update. So good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Beckwith, Mrs. Oswald, Mrs. Morrow Reel, Dr. Spurgeon, community and colleagues. I just want to highlight some of the financial pieces of the Prop R budget where we started. Kind of where we are today. Ms. Green did an eloquent job of guiding us through those projects. We started with roughly the $8.9 million that you see at the top in revised budgets. The SAB has approved. I have an updated list that I'll share with the board. So rather than about $6.4 million that you see, I'm showing about $7 million because we got the interactive boards project approved at the last board meeting. So we have included that update into our totals, which leaves us still roughly the $1.82 million in remaining balance for the additional projects that have to come forward. I wanted to highlight the fact that, as Ms. Green mentioned, we are working on RFPs for the safety and security projects. We've met with Dr. Patton and her team, getting those quotes together so that we could put some safety and security upgraded measures into our schools. In addition, again, Dr. Larry had brought to the SAB about replacing the interactive boards. My understanding is those are taking place as we speak, those upgrades. And so that is certainly kudos goes to them for making that happen. The last column over to the right, let me just mention very quickly, the last two columns in blue are showing where we have come under budget in some of our projects. So Ms. Green mentioned to you that we've got 22 projects that we've completed, but there are just 2 projects that we fully closed out. And to close out a project simply means it's been completed, and we've got the additional lien waivers, all of the releases, the final paperwork necessary to put a total end to everything related to the project. So we've been able to fully close out 2 projects, and those being the district wireless upgrades, which has been closed out, and also the playground information. And I'm proud to say we came in a little bit under budget. The SAB approved a certain dollar amount, and so we'd also like to add in our message to in our monthly message regarding Prop R, the fact that we're trying to not only meet minority goals on a lot of these projects, but we're also trying to make sure we come under budget. We've not come back to the SAB for any change orders, which has just been simply remarkable. But we'd also like to highlight in those last 2 columns that we have come under budget, slightly under budget. And so those monies, again, will roll back into the allocations, and we'll bring back to the SAB, depending on what that number looks like at the end. We'll bring back to the board some additional projects that fall within the scope of what Prop R was designed to do. So the message today is simple. We're doing what we promised, and we're doing it to the best of our abilities so that we could hold true to what we guaranteed Riverview Gardens School District voters that we will be doing with Prop R. Are there any questions for me?
Ms. Oswald,
I have no questions.
Ms. Morreale,
No questions.
Dr. Singleton, my compliments on no change orders. Normally, there are a bunch of them in large projects like this. So my compliments to you, Ms. Green, and everybody in the facilities department who had a part in this. No other questions. Let's go to Prop E now. Update through March 30. Dr. Singleton.
Thank you. Thank you again, Dr. Beckwith. Shay, let's focus on the last 3 slides. So the SAB, we've seen the vast majority of these slides. The first, probably the next one, Shay. The next one right there. Yes. Slide 20 is where I'll put the emphasis on. I really wanted to talk tonight, and Dr. Spurgeon has done an eloquent job of leading us to where we are. We've had a multitude of activities related to Proposition E. And I know as you drive through the community, you have to be proud. I'm very proud to see signs all over the place, up and down some of the main thoroughfares. You can see that there's Prop E, that the work that we've been doing. And so I am certainly, I want to thank Dr. Spurgeon, also Dr. Patton. The entire cabinet has just been very gracious. Monica, of her time and her talents, and her staff has been there as well. Ishmael, he just has done a remarkable job of really putting the words. I hate to start calling names. When you start calling them, you always miss somebody. So let me stop with the name calling and just say thank you to everyone who's been a part of Prop E. We're down to the wire. We've got 1 week to go. In fact, it's after 7 o'clock. So in exactly 1 week and around this time frame, we should start to see some of the results of Prop E come in. And we're hoping that we get that 50% or 50 plus 1% passage so that we can do some great things. But I really wanted to focus on the canvassing efforts and let the SAB and everyone know that we have basically canvassed all of the areas around the schools, around all of the schools in the Riverview Gardens School District. And so I do want to highlight the principals who have been here and also played a strong part in making sure that we got areas covered around their schools. And so again, the principals, you know who you are, you know where you've been, you know the work that you've put in. So thank you. So on February 27th, we took care of the areas around Westview Middle School, the high school, and LeMasters. We had representation from all three buildings at that time. The following week, we canvassed around the areas of Gibson and Meadows. Again, we had representation from both buildings at that time. The week afterwards, March 13th, we went to the areas of Gibson, Central Middle, Danforth, and Michelle Obama. Again, representation from all of the principals and all of the administrators for canvassing efforts at those times. Next slide, please, Shay. On just in the last several weeks, we canvassed around the Moline and Coke area and Lewis and Clark. And canvassing is more than just talking about Prop E. We're meeting parents who certainly will give you an earful about some of their experiences, and we're able to just really talk to parents and convince them that Prop E is a great thing. And so we have gotten a lot of support and buy-in. Just about everyone we've asked to put a sign in their yard has let us. And so we're grateful for that. Also, this past Saturday, March 27th, it was the week of after spring break, and we were light in numbers, but we were still full in effort. And so there were a number of colleagues who joined me, Dr. Patton, Ishmael, Sistrunk, and there was another crew of us here, Ms. Green as well. We were all here, and we did the areas along Glasgow and Highland to kind of culminate some of our canvassing efforts. As Dr. Spurgeon mentioned, this coming Saturday, our focus is going to be at some of the major intersections within the boundaries of the school district. For instance, there will be a group of us in the area of Chambers and Bell Fountain Road. That's a major intersection through the school district. And so we will be handing out vote yes cards to support Proposition E. And of course, those are paid for by the committee. Those are not district purchase cards. So we will be doing some of those efforts. We do have to get a time established. Our canvassing has been later around that 12 o'clock hours, but we did have a discussion about trying to do the street blitzing a little earlier, perhaps around the 10 o'clock hours. And so once we talk to Dr. Spurgeon and the cabinet members as well, and get a real good sense of who's available and a great time, we are going to be out we're going to be out doing some street blitzing on this coming Saturday. The weather is supposed to be great. So as many of you here that can join us, please come and join us, because this is one of the last times we really have to push for Prop E. And I'm hoping and praying that Prop E is going to be a huge success. So that's my report on Prop E, Dr. Beckwith. Are there any questions for me?
Ms. Oswald,
No questions.
Ms. Norwell.
No questions.
Okay. Dr. Singleton, with Prop R, we had a gathering on the night of the election to hear the results as they came in. Recognizing we're in a period of a pandemic, any plan for us to gather at Westview, or not everybody, representative group as the terms come in?
Dr. Beckwith, that's new information, but I will, Dr. Spurgeon, it looks like you want to respond to that. Do you have something to respond?
I do. And in fact, I didn't know if we could get together collectively, but we could do a Zoom gathering and we could monitor the results and watch those right now. It really depends. I was thinking more along the lines of a virtual gathering rather than being in person, but either way would work.
And Zoom would be fine. Zoom, I hadn't thought of that, but Zoom would be fine. But I'd like for that to be some kind of gathering.
Yes. And in fact, we could invite the community. You can invite all of our RGSD family. There could be a larger gathering online than anything we could do in person. So we can work on that and set that up.
And most of the elections, Dr. Singleton, that I've been involved in, the absentee ballots tell us a lot. They usually come in about noon, and within 5%, that usually tells us which way the election is going. So we shall see.
Yes,
Thank you for all your hard work and all the crew that been canvassing, putting signs together, et cetera. Very much appreciated. The proof is in the pudding. Usually school board elections are light. On the MSBA training session on last night, there's a bill that wants to change the board election to the November general elections. And there's some concern about that if that happens, it will be more politicized than it is now. But right now, we're looking for 50.1%, 50.05, whatever, for a win. Thank you, Dr. Singleton. We'll now go to item 60, federal program spending report.
Good evening, everyone, and happy spring, and congrats again to my boss, Dr. Singleton. I bring before you tonight an update on the spending report. This is an informational item. The percentage of amounts left per building is listed there. There will be some variables based on summer programming, Saturday tutoring, and summer tutoring programs that are in the works, some professional development, and consultants through Parent University with the district's parent amounts. There are also, we've been notified that there are a few vendors that are unable to fulfill some of the final orders, maybe due to shipping delays, and several purchase requests have been canceled. So these amounts will fluctuate just a little bit. I do want to highlight Reese Farmer from Lewis and Clark, Sierra Williams from Danforth, and Latina Kirkwood from Koch, and their respective principals for assisting at Central LeMasters and the high school due to some administrative assistants being out, but assisting with final purchase order requests and really pulling together and working together for the good of the department. So I want to thank those folks specifically. Are there any questions?
Ms. Oswald? Ms. Morreal?
No questions.
Okay, I'm looking at that and roll it up just a little bit under Riverview Gardens High School, that 20.28. I assume that's our students in transition. Why is it over 20% left in that?
Sir, that is the high school's little A budget. There are a couple of open positions on that grant that are that remained unfilled, a couple of IA positions. There's also some planned tutoring, makeup summer type tutoring programs that are in the works. So, you know, those funds will fluctuate a little bit.
I think having this graph or these graphs throughout the year, these charts, have really helped to improve our overall spending. So my compliments to you on that. We're now down to our discussion items. Next on the agenda is the 21-22 SAB meeting schedule. It's as usual, no big changes in it. Are there any questions, Ms. Oswald? Ms. Morreal?
No questions.
Okay, then we'll move to the summer curriculum writing for related arts. Who's doing that? Is that Tanya Ross or Dr. Nichols?
Ms. Ross will be presenting that item. Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Spurgeon, colleagues and school community. Tonight, I am here to provide a request on moving further in our curriculum development Our curriculum is based on understanding by design, which helps our students learn for a deep understanding and transferability. The Understanding by Design curriculum framework has 3 stages. Stage 1 is aligned with the Missouri Learning Standards, which guides us to develop the transfer goals, understandings, and making meaning. In stage 2, it entails, Shay, go back to the actual board doc. Sorry. Stage 2 entails creating evidence of learning with creating performance-based assessments along with formative assessments. And then finally, in stage 3, it deals with providing learning experiences that support transfer, making meaning, and acquisition. Tonight, we're bringing forward for permission to extend our curriculum development in the related arts, which includes music, art, physical education, and health. Research shows us that art education and athletics promote positive development in academic, social, and emotional realms, especially in economically disadvantaged communities. Similarly, students who study music have increased achievement and proficiency in math. All 3 related arts curriculum are important to developing creativity, which is a crucial factor in school and post-career success. Our action steps include and are aligned with the CSIP goal under student performance. Ultimately, we do curriculum team development, implementation, and progress monitoring for related arts. The budget impact, cost for professional development and payment to writers, GOB 1% budget in the amount not to exceed $35,000 with a little over. Our recommendation is that the Special Administrative Board approve the curriculum development for related arts programs in the amount. I have provided for you the actual proposal by J. McTighe and Associates, and also a budget summary which breaks down the J. McTighe and Associates cost, along with the outline of the curriculum development process for stage 1, in addition to some coaching opportunities to help our writers create the best possible product. Are there any questions?
Ms. Morrill,
I have no questions.
Ms. Oswald,
No questions.
Ms. Ross, how are the writers selected? Is there a process? Is there an application process or what?
For the major subject areas, we did go through an application process because it included a larger majority of the staff. However, with the related arts, we went through the department chairs in their PLC meetings soliciting writers in each of those areas.
My concern is that cherry picking, that the same people get the assignments most of the times, and I'm just guessing at that, but there ought to be some process where people who are interested can apply, and then the screening committee decides. But to just get recommendations from a department chair or so forth, I don't think that's fair.
So yes, sir, we can put a posting out in HR. Again, that is the process that we did in developing the core areas, but being that we were dealing with a smaller population, we did it a little differently. However, we can create the requirements, which are very similar to the core areas. It's just that all of the teachers must be certified in their particular related arts area. But yes, we can get that out.
The other thing, the SAB very seldom sees the product of the curriculum writers. Is there an opportunity to share some of that after it's done with the SAB, so we at least have an idea of what was done?
Yes, sir. I do that every August at the beginning of the school year. I provide a curriculum overview in terms
She froze.
able to determine the effectiveness of the curriculum. But yes, that report is done in August, sir.
No other questions. Item C, performance-based principal evaluation. Is that you, Dr. Triplett?
It is. Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Can
sir.
everyone hear me? Good evening, Special Administrative Board members, Superintendent, colleagues, and community members. This evening, I present for discussion the principal-based evaluation. The Riverview Gardens School District has been using the Missouri Educator Evaluation tool for principals since roughly 2013. However, in 2018, MEAS revamped its standards encompassing the MLDS, or Missouri Leadership Development System standards, and the professional standards for educational leaders, or PSEL. The evaluation tool in its current form does not reflect the most current standards presented by MEAS. That being said, under the direction of Dr. Beckwith and Dr. Spurgeon, a principal evaluation tool committee was formed to develop a more robust evaluation tool for principals. The committee consisted of Monica Williams-Woods, Lakina Curtis, Tracy Nave, Crystal Henderson, Rachel Clark, and myself. After research and several meetings, we created a principal evaluation tool titled the Performance-Based Principal Evaluation. This is a comprehensive summative report created to reflect the most current MEAS, MLDS, and PSEL standards for principals. In addition, this evaluation tool was created in accordance with the board policy CFB evaluation of principals. Also, this tool has been vetted by the superintendent and his entire executive cabinet to ensure that it really spoke to how principals are expected to perform. It is being recommended to the Special Administrative Board to adopt the proposed performance-based principal evaluation for use beginning the 2021-2022 academic year. Are there any questions?
Ms. Oswald? Ms. Morreal?
No questions.
One suggestion and one question, Dr. Triplett, would suggest that the pages be numbered so that when we ask questions, we can go to the applicable page. And the only page that, and I appreciate all this work, and especially involving the principals in their evaluation document. And it's my assumption that this will go into effect on July 1, 2021.
Yes, sir.
And on the last, is that the last page, or it looks like the last page, next to the last page, I'm not understanding, to the far right where it says follow-up assessment, explain that to me. I'm not sure what those symbols mean. Like 1, 2, 0, 1, 2. What is that relating to?
So those are, we also, Dr. Beckwith, have the booklet criteria that'll go along with this evaluation tool that MEAS uses. And this is the tool that's used for the growth opportunities for their individual goals. So these scoring, this baseline, all that assessment you're talking about with the triangle and the numbers, yeah, those scores were taken from the last tool, which are still reflected in the MEAS evaluation, the explanation document. So we did not change this, we just changed the tool itself.
So Dr. Beckwith, if you look at emerging 0 to 2, those are also numbered in this corresponding document that shows you that each level that we're evaluating. So you get year one baseline, and then the next year, the sequencing years would be the follow-up. So if a principal is in a developing area, that'd be marked as a 3 or 4. If they're marked as a proficient principal, that'd be at level 5 or 6. And each of those levels has a descriptive area that shows you what it means to be emerging level 1 or developing level 4 or proficient level 6.
Thank you.
And with this tool, Dr. Becker, once the principals will receive professional development on this tool, they will also be given that booklet from MEES that really spells this out in regards to how what those scores mean.
And is it my understanding that a number of different type of principal evaluations were reviewed, and this is a compilation of the best?
Yes.
Of all
Yes.
of them?
And so we reviewed several school districts tool. We reviewed the latest, greatest Missouri standards, along with the MLDS and professional standards for educational leaders. And we just kind of compiled a list of what that looked like. Then we took the rubric from the Missouri Educator Evaluation System, the new rubric that they created in 2018, and we just created a tool based on that rubric. And so that's what you all, the board see on the evaluation tool itself.
My compliments to you and the committee and Dr. Spurgeon for coming up with this as requested, and I look forward to it being used and then reviewing the results of it.
Thank you so much.
All the questions. Thank you. Summary of the fund balance report for the month ending February 2021. Dr. Livingston, Dr. Singleton.
That's all right, Dr. Beckwood. Thank you. Tonight, we will review the financial reports for the Special Administrative Board for the 8 months ending February 28th, 2021. Let me also share with the SAB that I sent you all an email a couple weeks ago. We are going to a new system, Munis, which is able to pull, or should be able to pull some more comprehensive data if you would like. So please, if there's some additional information that you would like to see in these fund balance summary reports, by all means, please send me that information as soon as possible so that we can incorporate it into the next summary of fund balance report. So this is the last one that we're able to pull from Keystone. Next month going forward, when we present these reports, we were able to add additional details. So if there's something you'd like to see, please send me that information as soon as possible. So the second page here, again, this is through February 28th of this year. So the first column looks at where we started the fiscal year with about $14 million. The year-to-date revenue, those two middle columns are what's most important to me because it tells you the activity that has transpired this current fiscal year. So if you look at this year, look at this year's revenues and this year's expenditures by those funds, you'll see that we are outpacing our expenditures, and that's the position that any school district wants to be in. We've received $38 million in revenues. We've spent about $35 million in expenses. And so that certainly speaks to sound financial practices. And so again, our ending fund balance right now is looking at about $17.4 million. Let me just point out again, I've mentioned it before, but that food service fund, if you look at that bottom number for food service across, you will see that we started with some very significant fund balance numbers. But if you look at those middle two columns at revenue and expenditures, our revenues are down tremendously with food service. And obviously the obvious reason is because of the pandemic. It's because of virtual learning. And we have just not been able to show those historic revenues there. We're hoping that at some point that will turn around for us. But I did want to mention for the record again that our food service revenues are down over previous years. But of course, our expenditures are what they are because we obviously have to employ staff, purchase food, and do what's necessary. Next slide, Shay. So the third page here looks at the grant expenditures. Again, these are just all, majority of these are all actually federal programs. So we looked at the budgets that we started with this year, the $11.5 million. Those encumbrances are monies that have been set aside to be spent. And then the actual monies that have been spent, the $5.6 million. So our available balance is about $4.7 million. Let me say that we're doing a yeoman's job related to our grant expenditures. And so I think we're doing a pretty good job there. The next page talks about the grant revenues. Again, for the 8 months ending February, those revenues are looking quite impressive as well. So the budget was $5.5 million, the revised budget of $8 million, the receipts about 3.4. We're still got about $4.5 million to collect in relation to those grant revenues. And so we're hoping to, by the end of the school year, certainly to collect those outstanding collections and come whole related to those grant revenues. The very next page, Shay, thank you, just breaks down our revenues and where they are, or the classifications. So those that go into the general fund, for instance, are in the first categories. Below it talks about what the monies that we put in the teachers' funds. So again, those middle two columns are what's most important. It talks about the budget, the revised budget, the actual budget that we have in place, and also the actual year-to-date numbers or revenues that we've collected for those expenses. And so again, we're on pace that we should end the year not in the red on any of these funds. And so pretty glad to show that those numbers are to the positive, and we're on track to collect those numbers as scheduled. The next page are the expenditures, the same thing. Again, we break them down by category: general fund expenditures, teacher funds, debt service, capital projects. All of them are there. Those middle two columns, the budget the revised budget, and also the year-to-date numbers. So those are what's most important to me. You look at the budget and you're looking to see what actually has come in against the budget. And so for the past 8 months, I think we're actually on track to do pretty well with our expenditures also. The last 2 pages are for the historical revenues across years. So what it actually does, it looks at 19, 20, and 21 for this exact time period. So where were we February the 28th of 19? Where were we February 28th of 2020? And where are we February 28th of 2021? And you can see those trends. So the general fund, we've averaged $18 to $19 million. It's been consistent. The teachers fund has also been somewhat consistent, 14, 15, $16 million. Debt service, obviously, if we have outstanding bond issues and things like that, that's what's going to impact those debt service revenues. And so that was a big variance in 2020. That's why we see the numbers going up, but consistently, the numbers of $3 to $4 million is what we spend or what we get on an annual basis for those revenues as well. So consistency there. And then the last page, again, looks at the expenditure side of things, the same 8-month period from 19, 20, and 21. And I think that our expenses have been very consistent. If you look at the very bottom where it says report total, we're looking at $35 million this year. In 2020, we're at about $38 million. Go up just a little bit, Shay. And in 2019, we're at about $36 million. So very consistent, I would say, in terms of collecting those revenues and monitoring and making sure that we don't overspend. Are there any questions for me at this time?
Ms. Oswald,
No questions.
Ms. Marl,
I have no questions.
Dr. Singleton, I believe food services was audited last year by DESE, and there was a problem that occurred. Do you recall what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir. I think
But
there was.
I don't want you to give me an answer, but I want to know, where are we with that? There was some kind of situation and needed to be taken care of it. And if you would just send me an email to let me know if that's been done or when it will be done.
Sure, absolutely. We'll do that. Thank you, Dr. Beckwith.
Dr. Beckle, I have a question real quick. Dr. Singleton, just real quick, I know the auditors had mentioned last time that they were willing to come in during this spring and do some pre-checking for us in preparations for our audits. And I know we talked about that at the SAB level. Just checking on about what time do you think that's going to happen, and what are they going to be looking at? Because we certainly want to get prepared for our next audit. Hopefully it'll be a better one.
Sure. So, Dr. Beckwith, yes. I'm sorry, Dr. Spurgeon, yes. We have, one of the things that we learned from the last audit is, in order to reduce some of the findings, we got to get a handle on some of the practices. And I'll say this, I have been monitoring that debt service piece of the audit finding, if you will. I've been on top of Mr. Smith and Mr. Byrd. We have constantly communicated on that. And again, I've laid out the expectation that we don't plan to have that same repeat finding. However, if we do get to the point where we do need the auditor's assistance, what the auditors have said is we have to engage their help ahead of time. That's not a correction they can come in and make while they're actually doing the audit. And it has to deal with how we amortize, if you will, or how we break down or break out our debt service payments. There's an amortization schedule that tells you how much is supposed to go to principal and interest. And unfortunately, we have not been good stewards of keeping those records like we should. So one way to eliminate that is to engage the auditor's work ahead of time. And Dr. Spurgeon, I think that around that April or early May timeframe is the time to have those auditors to start taking a look at the general ledger to make sure that those numbers we're on target to try and eliminate that finding. So I will keep you in the SAB posted in April. I'll reach out to them to make sure we have an exact time frame, and certainly we'll report out, either send an email or report out at the next meeting when that should occur.
Yeah, and if you would just do me a favor and just contact them directly here in the next couple of days and just find out for sure, because I don't want to miss that window, to make sure if they can come in and provide some extra assistance to remove a finding and help us move forward, that'd be fantastic.
Yep, thank you so much.
And last thing, Dr. Singleton, normally when there are large federal outlays like the CARES Act, we can almost be positive that's going to be audited.
Oh, absolutely.
So we want to make sure that we're on the up and up. And you've been very good about saying, Dr. Beckwith, that's not eligible for a CARES Act. And just continue that, because we don't want to be in a payback mode. I think I read in the paper this morning where St. Louis County is going to have to pay back some money because it wasn't spent properly.
Right. Yes, sir. Thank you.
No other questions. Item E, 2021 Best Practice Summer Professional Learning Academy.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The Special Administrative Board, Superintendent Spurgeon, colleagues, and members of the community. Tonight, I am presenting for discussion the 2021 Best Practices Professional Learning Academy. This request is intended for certified staff, and it is proposed that this event would occur over the summer, beginning on June 4th through 9th. I have provided 2 documents for the board's consideration. One document, so I'm going to speak specifically to the board doc, Ms. Fields, so you don't need to open that up unless there's a specific question. So just wanted to make reference that the 2 documents, one is actually like the proposal process itself, and then the other one outlines the step-by-step details in terms of instructions that will be given to staff, proposal submission tips, requirements, etc. So I just wanted to point that out to you as I continue. This presentation is, or PD, is intended to be led specifically by teachers we have looked at a series of data, specifically teacher needs assessment, and have taken that information from the needs assessment. In addition to that, this presentation or proposal is aligned with CSIP goals, and you will see the CSIP goals and possible topics for individuals to select from. If the board does approve this request, then we would begin to revise the rest of the timeline to outline so that it is a logical process for teachers to begin indicating their interests and then preparing their proposals. I mentioned about the CSIP, and then also I made a reference to the cost. I'm trying to pull that document up. So I made a reference to the costs. We are looking at, with this proposal, not to exceed 20 presenters for the summer PD. And then we also have identified an estimate of 100 participants. I have outlined in the proposal, the requirement, the procedures. I've outlined and have articulated sections identified by what's called artifacts. So each artifact has a specific area that we are going to focus on. Some of them will require that we will make those documents electronic so that staff will have greater access to those documents. So at this point, I am recommending presenting this information to you tonight for discussion. It is proposed that this amount, Ms. Fields, would you share that board doc page? I can't pull it up on my screen. So down to the budget section, yes. So I've included the 20%, which is allocated for the benefits. And so the actual proposal is $40,000 added to the $8,000, excuse me, with a grand total not to exceed $48,000. So I am recommending that discussion occur and that with the next board meeting, then consent would be given. But I'll entertain any questions you have at this time.
Ms. Oswald?
Do we think that we will get 100 participants?
Well, that is the planning, and I would rather overplan as opposed to not planning for enough. And looking at the communications that have come from staff and the needs assessment, many of them have indicated that those are areas of interest. And so right now, it really is a matter of putting the information out, beginning to market it, if you will, and then beginning to create the process so that people can apply.
Thank you.
Ms. Morrill?
My question had more to do with if you don't get the exact number that you were hoping that you would get, but I'd like to read this a little bit further, and then if I have additional questions, I can shoot them to you in the form of an email.
Okay. And thank you. One thing that we did add into that document was a plan B, because when the PDC and I had a conversation, we've had multiple conversations since this item has gone on the board doc. One of the things that came up was a concern whether we would have enough facilitators who were prepared. And so on the board doc, I did make a statement to say that if we did not have enough facilitators, I have been in communication with a couple of external vendors so that we could still make this become a reality. But still, if that were to occur, then I certainly would be able to bring that back to the board, but I would not go exceed beyond this amount that's indicated in this request.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Sharp, how will the facilitators be chosen?
We have identified in the criteria an application process so that the facilitators would be required to make sure that they're adhering to the requirements within this proposal. So they would present on specific topics. That information would come, so the criteria is listed there, but that information would come to the PDC. PDC has already outlined a process where that we would examine the criteria. and certainly look at the proposals and then give a rating. So we have a formal process that we're looking at.
And you basically answered my question when you said there will be an application process.
Yes.
That was
So
important
the
to that.
application process will become the actual proposal that they will present to us.
Thank you. No other questions.
Dr. Beckwith, real
Yes.
quick. Shay, on page 9 at the bottom, it shows $48,000 total, and then on the recommendation it shows 49.
Yes, so the actual amount should be 48,000. Thank you, Dr. Spurgeon, for bringing that to
Just want to make sure we get it right for the item to come back to the SAB. That's all. Just a question.
Thank you. 48,000 is correct.
Our last discussion item, item L, Renaissance Learning, in quotation marks, Freckle.
Yes, good evening, SAB board members, colleagues, and community. Tonight, I want to present the proposal to adopt the Renaissance software program Freckle. Freckle is an instructional program which is an extension of what we currently use, the STAR 360, which is our benchmark software program. And so we use that platform to inform us about how our scholars are achieving in reading and math. Once our scholars take the STAR 360 benchmark, we're able to see how they're performing in the areas in which they're performing. But by adding Freckle, teachers will be able to assign practice items to our scholars to enhance their skills in the targeted areas based upon the results of the benchmark. As the practice items are assigned, teachers will be able to monitor the scholars' progress in a more timely manner with data that's going to be more available at their fingertips. Freckle was demonstrated to our champions committee, which includes the curriculum and instruction team, principals, and instructional coaches. The feedback that I received was extremely positive. They believe that this would be a powerful tool that would benefit our scholars as well as the teachers for their instructional planning. It would just kind of more, be readily available for them. Working with Dr. Singleton, he was able to secure funding for Freckle through the CARES budget. Freckle will qualify due to the scholars' learning loss during remote learning. And the recommendation is that the board would approve the $135,424 to benefit our students and our staff in trying to close that learning gap. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Ms. Morreal,
I have no questions.
Ms. Oswald,
No question.
Dr. Kennedy, I have no questions. Thank you. We're now down to the approval of our consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. We're ready for the question. Hearing none. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. We have no action items tonight. That concludes our agenda. May I have a motion for adjournment?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. We're ready for the question. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The meeting is adjourned. Have a pleasant evening.
You all as well.
All is well.
Mhm.